We are in trouble, we Western societies. The main topic I want to discuss with you is the unholy union between Islam and socialism. It's dirty because socialism is secular. It's the opposite of any religion. One of their pure slogans is religion is a drug for the masses, opium for the masses. But now they are not having a problem in entering in this union and ever more openly supporting, electing Muslims to ever higher position. It is just a very clear trajectory to the day that we will have a Muslim candidate for president of the United States of America. It is happening. I will try today to describe the series of candidates, prominent figures from the left who are openly anti-American, who ever more arrogantly threaten America to be modified the way they want, which is against every principle of America. And these principles, this reality, is the reason why many people want to be in America. Our individual freedoms are the opposite of Islam. Our openness to various opinions and worldviews is the opposite of Islam. There is no Islamic free country. If you choose Islam, you vote against freedom. It is so clear. There is no such country. No Egypt, no Jordan, no Saudi Arabia. Everywhere in the Islamic world, there is a dictator, and maybe you can find some mild exceptions like Indonesia, but it's again a dictatorship. So what are we choosing for America? Maybe actually the dictatorship is the thing that unites socialism with Islam. Their inclination for ultimate power, not sharing with anyone, no opposition, censorship. This is where they meet. And that is one of the topics today for discussion. We have a few more, such as the ballroom, going to court, the Lindsey Graham Act passes in Senate with 86-11 votes, 13 dead in a drone strike on Nizhny-Kamsk in Russia. Ukraine is hitting ever harder. It was the deadliest month for Russia in this war, and it is getting even worse. Ukraine is actually gaining a record amount of land the month of July. So things are not going well for Russia, even if the West is not serious in supporting Ukraine. Meaning Europe, the 650 million rich Europeans are still reluctant to support Ukraine. And we are busy and we don't have the weaponry to do that. So now it's becoming ever more clear that without the United States, the entire West was on our riding on us. It was a free ride. Canada is not supporting them, and the rest of European countries, they took a large amount of money from Russian assets that are held in Western banks, and that gave Ukraine some cash a few months ago. But even without serious support, Ukrainians are dying, but they are hitting, and they are hitting deep. They're hitting where it hurts. As a big supporter of Ukraine, of freedom, of the freedom of choice for a nation to decide if they want to be part of the Russian nightmare or to be a free country, I celebrate and I mourn for the losses, even for the Russian losses. These are boys and girls that should be alive and enjoying their life. And there is one person of Earth that is the only one probably head of state who is not stopping this when they face the horrific amount of casualties. I cannot think of any dictator, any regime in history where 1.5 million of their own people would be dead in a war that can be stopped with one phone call, one signature, and they will not say, like, oh my God, this month, what, we lost 48,000 people? Stop it. This went out of control. This was a mistake. I will take the political responsibility, but I will stop the bloodshed. He is not doing that. And any American who shows even the smallest sympathy for Vladimir Putin and Russia is a very in deep chaos in their mind, or in the case of Tucker Carlson, I have serious doubt that I'm not sure I am legally allowed to say openly, but Russia has a deep tradition in corrupting Western media and politicians to play their games. And we saw a quick flip in his behavior that remains to this day unexplained. And here I'll stop. So let's check and comment each of these topics. The ballroom goes to court under the argument that the president is a temporary tenant, not the owner of the White House. Of course, he's not, but he's the president. He's neither a tenant, I think. But the motto of this podcast is facts are sacred, commentary is free, as should every media of each caliber, small or the largest, be, as they, I think, used to be in the past, and they are no longer are, respecting that simple rule. On Friday, August 7th this year, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ordered the Trump administration to halt construction of a $400 million ballroom at the White House because the project lacks congressional approval. The ruling was 2-1. Judges Patricia Millett, an Obama appointee, and Bradley Garcia, a Biden appointee, formed the majority. Judge Naomi Rao, a Trump appointee, dissented. The panel sided with the lower court in holding that the White House very likely lacked the authority to demolish and rebuild the East Wing. The majority wrote, each president is a temporary tenant, not the owner of the White House and its executive residence. The president has no and claims no constitutionally assigned authority over that properly. These were the facts. I will resume them, but let me push a little, I think, common thinking. If a CEO of a company decides to renovate their office, it's their right. It's considered the smallest of the rights they have to renew their office, to buy new furniture, maybe to replace the secretary. You don't have some court telling you, especially when the judges are so politicized nowadays, we elect them on a freaking political platform, like in a ballot that is divided Democrat and Republican. So judges are no longer even pretending to be unbiased. A president does have the right to renew the White House. Each of them did it. Each of them makes renovations, and they are the tenants. You call them tenants? No, it's the president. Your analogy is false, so weak, it's laughable. He is the president, and this is his office. This is the building he is in charge to maintain and renew. And if he decides that this wing is in bad shape and needs to be abolished, and I will upgrade it with something that I consider necessary for my needs and for the needs of the country, no one can stop them. They were given by the American people the right to govern. This is not a tenant, dear judges. You just make a joke of yourself. And I'm 100% sure that the Supreme Court will not side with those judges, but with the president's right to change the desk, change the paintures of the wall, or are we not allowed? Replace a window that is broken? Where exactly the tenant's rights stop and the owner, who is the owner? Obviously, it's not Trump, but he is neither owner of the military, yet he is allowed to buy weapons and to direct. He is not the owner of the trillions he is in charge of spending, yet he is assigning money in all directions, and that is considered his organic right as a president. This argument is absolutely unsustainable. It will fail in court. I promise to continue with the arguments of the court. The court also wrote that Congress has full constitutional control over federal property. Bullshit, excuse my French. Congress has authority over everything, but Congress is the legislative branch of the power. They cannot manage properties. They don't go replace windows or rebuild properties. We have executive branch that decides that the FBI or the certain we need more a new prison or a new federal building. Are we asking every time the Congress? I don't think so. On the merits of the panel framed the question as institutional. Whether or not a massive ballroom should be constructed is for Congress to decide, and it's not a matter for executive self-help. Nonsense. The Congress is voting the budget. What are the taxes? What is we spend for the military? How it will be spent is the president's job. Big difference. These judges need to be educated by some Bulgarian podcaster because they are obviously politically active and not judicially sound. Next topic, Lindsey Graham achieved his goal to allow the president to punish Russia because they attacked a foreign country and they are trying to occupy that country. On Friday, the 7th of August, this year, the U.S. Senate passed the sanctions bill by 86 to 11 votes. The legislation was renamed the Lindsey O. Graham Sanctioning Russia and Iran Act of 2026, and the South Carolina Republican who led it after the South Carolina Republican who led it and who died in July 2026. The bill is 61 pages long and is designed to penalize major buyers of Russian oil and gas, which is to enforce sanctions that we already have voted. So if we have decided to protect our border and some country is facilitating the breaking of our border protection laws, we would sanction them. If we impose sanctions on Russia, and they are not enough for some companies or governments, we will sanction them so they obey to the sanctions. And these sanctions are imposed by the entire civilized world, from Europe to America to Canada. Everyone imposed sanctions on Russia for breaking the very basic rule of national integrity, territorial sovereignty. As someone who lived near Russia, under Russian occupation, I can tell you it's not pleasant. No nation wants to live under Russian occupation, under Russian influence. Every ally of Russia, and the list is very short now, is a poor and non-free country. There is no prosperous and there is no free country that is a Russian ally. Ukraine wants to be part of the West. They want to be with Europe, they want to be friends with America, and they don't want to be a satellite of Vladimir Putin's Russia. Any Russia. Because never Russia was the source of light, of freedom. It was the source of dark. Ronald Reagan used the term the empire of evil for a lot of reasons. Anyone who is sympathizing to Russia or blaming Ukrainians, including some of my fellow Republicans, is deeply wrong. We should allow Ukrainians to live the way they want. It's that simple. And they don't want to be a Russian colony like Belarus. They don't want that. Can you blame them? We stopped financing because 650 rich European members of the European Union, non-members, NATO members, a lot of rich people, a lot of wealth refused or barely did anything. And those who blame us for not financing should just look in the mirror. Half of Europe is not helping Ukraine at all. Big countries, wealthy countries like Italy, like Greece, like Spain, like Portugal, they don't contribute. But somehow the blame was on Donald Trump. So Lindsey Graham was a man of common sense, especially on this topic. And I admire the Senate for making the right decision. I'm sure just the threat of such sanctions would stop countries like India or Greece. Of all countries, our Greek friends blocked a package of European sanctions last week because a Greek company was transporting illegally Russian gas. And they were afraid that they would lose some money, some business. Why are you in the business of trafficking Russian sanctioned gas and oil on the first place? Why are you doing business with Vladimir Putin? So now Greece and India and anyone who is trafficking and buying from Russia will have to pay sanctions. The bill authorizes the president to impose tariffs of up to 100% on the 5 largest purchasers of Russian crude oil and natural gas. Reporting also describes an authority of up to 500% on goods imported from Russia itself. Very good. 1.5 million dead Russians and Ukrainians scream from their graves, stop this war, at least so our children, our families are not next to die and join us in this nightmarish war. We are far from it. We don't see it. We don't feel it. But right now there are people who don't have electricity, who are afraid to not survive tomorrow. And these people didn't do anything wrong. They just want to be part of the West, want to be an independent country, just like Bulgaria did, my country of origin, Hungary did, Serbia wants, Romania, and many Baltic countries, Lithuania, Estonia. Vladimir Putin is just another Russian dictator who wants to grab, steal land. This is how you become the largest country on earth, by stealing land from other nations. It's in their DNA. They will never stop on this until this empire of evil is destroyed. And Donald Trump did the right approach. He eliminated every ally of Russia. He eliminated Venezuela. He eliminated Syria. He is eliminating Iran as we speak. So the Russians right now have only one ally, and that's North Korea. That is it. China is not their ally. I've spoken here about it so many times. China is the worst enemy of Russia. They want back Chinese territories that are stolen by Russia, and they want much more. So if Russia pretends to consider China an ally, no one has any illusion about the real reasons why China pretends to help Russia. How? By becoming their only provider of anything on the highest price possible and buyer of anything on the lowest price possible. So China is benefiting tremendously from this war, and it also, the war by itself, the attack on Ukraine would feed the Chinese narrative one day when they take a land from Russia. They would use the same terminology. Oh, there are fascists here, so we'll take over that territory. Oh, there is Chinese people here. They have millions of Chinese people already living and working on Russian territory in Siberia, and they will be used as a pretext to attack Russia. We will see this happen. China will not infinitely wait. They just want Russia to be weakened more and more, to start disintegrating, and then they will step up. Mark my words. So the U.S. Trade Representative may set the rate anywhere from 0 to 100% on those 5 largest purchasers and need only notify Congress of what it has done. I think by itself this will stop the illegal traffic of Russian goods. No one wants to pay these tariffs and these fines. It's not even tariff. It's just a fine. We seize your financial assets. There is nothing you can do. No civilized country has their money anywhere but in the financial system that is directed and controlled by America. The bill also imposes sanctions on President Vladimir Putin and officials in his government, oligarchs, their family members, Russian banks, and financial institutions. Very good. They are the people financing the aggression. The president may waive the sanctions by certifying to Congress that doing so serves the national interest. Fair. Give Trump space to maneuver. He is very good in it. Shortly before his death, Graham met the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and announced he had reached a deal with the White House to support the bill. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal said of President Trump he supports it and described the bill in Graham's own phrase as a big effing deal. I am joining this statement. The bill now goes to the House, which is in a 5-week August recess. It is expected to meet Democratic resistance over the tariff provisions. Of course, Democrats will be against it, but in Senate they supported it, so they probably will support in Congress. Ilhan Omar and AOC, the communist fraction, probably won't. Democratic Senator Graham died on Saturday, July 11, aged 71, hours after returning from a trip to Ukraine. Preliminary findings from the District of Columbia medical examiner gave the cause of as aortic dissection arising from heart disease. His seat did not stay empty. Governor Henry McMaster appointed Graham's sister, Darlene Graham, to fill it. In the special Republican primary on August 11, 2026, Darlene Graham led with roughly 33%, and Representative Ralph Norman took about 24%. The two advanced to a runoff on August 25. President Trump endorses Darlene Graham. The winner faces Democrat Annie Andrews in November. Next topic is another drone strike, this time on a city no one of us knew, Nizhnekamsk, the deepest, deadly strike of the war so far from Ukraine, because Russia is hitting every city and village in Ukraine deep to the border with their neighbors, unopposed, because we the West didn't provide enough systems. But now the Ukrainians start to hit deep. It happened on Monday, August 10. Ukrainian long-range drones struck the city of Nizhnekamsk in the Russian Republic of Tatarstan. At least 13 people were killed, including a child. The wounded figure has since settled at 75 for Tatarstan officials. The 39 that circulated on the way was an early count, not a competing final one. None of the 13 dead were killed when one drone hit a hostel. Nine of them. Among them were citizens of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Firepoint, an Ukrainian defense technology manufacturer, said its FP-1 drones were used in the attack. Ukraine's general staff said its forces struck the Taneko oil refinery in Nizhnekamsk and started a fire. Ukraine's military confirmed it successfully struck the site. Nizhnekamsk is a major refining hub with 2 refineries and a petrochemical plant, and a population of about 240,000. In Russia, this is considered a relatively small town. It lies roughly 800 kilometers, that's 350 miles east of Moscow, and about 1,200 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. That is around 700 miles. Rustam Manikhanov, head of the Republic of Tatarstan, called the attack barbaric. A day of mourning was declared in Tatarstan. Svetlana Petrenko, spokesperson from Russia's investigative committee, confirmed the death of a child and described the attack as a terrorist attack. I don't think it's necessary to remind anyone that Ukraine is defending itself. It never attacked Russia. Now it does because it was attacked, and civilians in Ukraine are killed by the hundreds of thousands. So the 13 people who unfortunately were killed in Russia are a drop in the ocean of Ukrainian civilian casualties. We don't like talking about this. We don't mention the real numbers of Ukrainian casualties because they are horrific. We focus on the Russian casualties that are even more horrific. The attack inside even always gives more casualties than the defending side. So Ukraine, either by mistake or intentionally hitting civilian targets, is a response, the way Israel responds to attack from the barbarians. Their neighbors, some of them are peaceful and some are not. Some want to erase Israel from the face of earth. So Vladimir Putin is attacking Ukraine and now suffers casualties. I'm sorry, dear Russia, remove Vladimir Putin or stop supporting him. Stop voting for him. Ask him to stop the war. This is what every other civilized country will do. Civilized nations go to the streets and protest when a president is continuing a bloody war. America was in Vietnam and we gave dear lives to protect, not to steal territories, to stop communism. And we failed because inside America there is plenty of people who work against America and gladly go on the streets every time they have an opportunity to harm America's interests and legal order. At that time, they went on the street to protest against the war in Vietnam, and America stopped the war. We gave 50,000 casualties, an insane number, and the president just had to stop it because the nation wanted that. Russia gave 1.5 million casualties, and no one is on the streets in Russia. This as a context that the nation largely supports Vladimir Putin in his aggression against Ukraine. There is not many innocent in Russia, dear friends. They are coming to their senses. I think many are not allowed. Every opposition media was stopped. Every opposition politician was killed. So we cannot just blame Russians for being under terror. But it is also true that they do vote for Vladimir Putin in large numbers. A crisis in Europe because Italy closed the border with Spain. Two EU members suspended the free movement between them. Just imagine two American states like California and Nevada closing the border. It happens in Europe in the last several years repeatedly because some nations open their border and allow millions of illegals. Next step, they give them citizenship, which Spain did to 500,000 illegal immigrants and made them European citizens. Oh, and voters. And now these European citizens are allowed to travel across Europe, buy and own properties, live and settle everywhere they want, even if no other country wants them. But Spain made them Europeans. So Italy's reaction was, I am closing the border with you. I don't give an F. Kudos for that to the Italian Premier Minister, Meloni. On July 30 and 31st, 2026, about 72,000 people Moroccans crossed irregularly from Morocco into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta on the North African coast. That figure is Spanish Interior Minister Fernando Grande Marlaska's, so it can be considered either as realistic or minimal. Al Jazeera, which is a very dishonest media, on August 4th considered them more than 60,000. Yeah, they are more than 60,000. It's that Al Jazeera is pro-immigration, so they would reduce the number significantly. The death toll has risen far past the figure that circulated in the first days. As of August 5, it stands at least 141, of which 63 bodies were recovered from Moroccan waters per the migrant rights organization Caminando Frontieres. Yeah, the migrant rights organizations never care about any other right. Nations' rights, civilizations' rights, traditions' rights, citizens' rights are non-important. Only migrants' rights matter. For Caminando Frontieres and the many, many other NGOs often fed on government grants or by sick millionaires like George Soros or Schwab or God knows who else. 78 more died in Spanish waters per Spanish officials. Some drowned, some were crushed trying to climb the breakwater at the border fence. It's described as Morocco's deadliest migration disaster in recent history. Spain has since returned roughly 70,000 people to Morocco. This is an important number so basically they returned everyone, almost. If 72,000 are considered to cross, and if 70,000 were returned, that means that the socialist government of Spain realized that they overdid. It had become a grotesque, a country with no borders, basically, where an army, because 72,000 is exceeding the size of many armies of countries around the world. An army of people invades your territory and you just allow them. I think no, even the very tolerant Spanish society wouldn't tolerate that. So the government decided to return them. Just like Biden appointed Kamala Harris as the border czar, pretending to fight illegal immigration while allowing illegal immigration. They were returning some people back, but they did allow 20 plus million people. children are the unresolved part. So children are being used again. I'm sorry, I'm missing facts with my opinion. Facts. Children are the unresolved part. Reporting from the first week put 1,342 children in the enclave, about 1,100 of them needing assistance against a capacity for unaccompanied minors of 90 places. It's a small town. Later reporting puts about 1,000 unaccompanied children still in Ceuta. So you have this invasion. They go back, but 1,000 children are left. Either parents left their children to maybe put the step and become citizens and then bring them their parents, or maybe they didn't care the way many illegal immigrants bring kids or just send their kids, hoping that a compassionate, civilized society will take care of their kids. And it usually works. So now these kids are on the streets of that small town, and nobody knows what to do with them. If they just allow them, that will be 1,100 that you need to feed and support and take care of. Italy introduced temporary border measures in response to that nightmare, that chaos, on July the 30th. The checks began on August 1st. They affect air and sea transport and in effect suspend Schengen free movement rights for travelers from Spain. Schengen is a zone within the European Union of countries that decided to completely open the borders between them and trust each other just like American states do. A very sad story of a socialist government that is the premier minister is investigated, big friend of Joe Biden, not giving a dime for NATO, not giving a dime for Ukraine, asking America, hating America, yet expecting America to protect them. And only 2 months ago, he said, not America, China should be the leading strength of the world, the leading power. The guy here sitting and smiling with Joe Biden is the socialist premier of Spain. These are his words. China, the Communist Party of China, should be the leading power of the world. What kind of ideology, what kind of goals this guy has? You can only let your imagination fly. For someone who pretends to be a European yet dreams of Chinese dominance. And I'll leave it here. Patriot stocks are down 65%, and the Pentagon gave 21 days to its suppliers to stop the years-long development cycles that are just not acceptable. Our military industry was not providing, even if we were providing to them. We American taxpayers were depriving ourselves of any free stuff from our taxes coming back to us. Other countries have free pools, free daycare, because taxes don't go to the military. They are irresponsible. They just live the good life. We, America, is one of the few nations who is responsibly spending on defense, not just to protect itself, but all our allies. And we were paying lavish money to the industries, the companies who are providing to the Pentagon. And the war in Ukraine exposed these companies as dishonest, grabbing the money, not delivering enough weapons. And whoever accepted that was part of the scheme. There is a scheme, there is a mafia-like method of robbing Americans with the false promises of providing for the military. We are not in a war. We We fight a nation that never actually was able to oppose us. And yet we are low on munitions. So on August 5, Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Feinberg wrote to defense industry leaders demanding faster production of critical munitions. The memo was obtained by the Washington Post and reported on August 9. Companies were given no more than 21 days to submit plans that drive significantly faster, more aggressive delivery schedules and or increases production for critical capabilities. Why is only Trump doing another thing that should be done so long time ago? Demand the people who receive government money to deliver, not just promises, not just hyper expensive munitions, but something that really works and would be sufficient to defend ourselves. Again, Trump is doing it. Patriot interceptors, 2,330 before the war with Iran, 1,030 when the April ceasefire took effect, and an estimated 759 to 827 after the most recent fighting, a fall of at least 65%. Where are the new Patriot replenishment? It's already 6 months. This little operation started. Why aren't we producing much more of that? The way China is building hundreds of boats every year and we only produce 5 a year. Aren't we spending way more than the 10 next countries combined? And yet, that means the money we are spending is being stolen. THAAD interceptors, 452 before the war, 232, 200 to 262 at the April ceasefire, 234 to 278 after replenishment, a fall of at least 38%. We are not in a war. This is not war. And yet our stock is less than half on some critical munitions. Lockheed Martin said it plans to raise annual production of Patriot interceptors from 6 to 2,000. They plan. The war in Ukraine started in 2022. In 2026, Lockheed Martin plans. You know why? Because they don't want to produce more for the same money, and nobody, certainly not President Trump, would give them more money. They are refusing, they are boycotting the American government, the security of America, because the only thing they care is the river of money to continue flowing into their bank accounts. And now the US government has the audacity to ask for something for the money we give them. And they are barely producing anything, telling us, oh, a war like the one in Ukraine decimated all our stock. And we are not even fighting that war. And it's a miserable army like the Russian army. What about the Chinese army? How well were we prepared in 2022? I'm not talking about 26. If China decided to do something, if the Ukraine war decimated our reserves, we were not. We were not prepared for a full-scale war, let's say about to protect Taiwan or Israel or ourselves. It's becoming obvious now. The Pentagon separately moved to boost Patriot and THAAD interceptor output on August 3rd ahead of the Feinberg memo. President Trump said it would be not good if Congress failed to provide tens of billions more in Pentagon funding amid the war with Iran. So yes, the military complex is asking for even more money. 1 trillion is not enough. And Donald Trump is cornered if he wants to achieve stopping Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. He will have to spend more money helping Ukraine or just replenishing the US stock. We would have to spend more money. This is sad. This is a huge red flag that every American should be concerned, because both parties are paid to not care, and they didn't care for so many years. The only request was to raise the money and not look at what we get for that money. Colombia, 265 dead after the earthquake, and a deal that is being worked very quickly after the new president was sworn. 5 days in, there is, okay, I'll read the facts as I see them. Abelardo de la Espriella was inaugurated as president of Colombia on Friday, August 7, 2026, in a ceremony held at the Santiago de Cali University Auditorium in Cali, rather than at the national capital or in Bogota. He defeated Ivan Cepeda of the historic pact in the June 21st of 2026 election and ran on a hard line against armed groups. And many people dare to say, hey, is this just a coincidence that we stopped US aid and socialist regimes started falling across the world? There is another one that lost the election because they weren't financed from American socialists, fellow American socialists. On Monday, August 10, 7:34 local time, a magnitude 7.4 earthquake struck the department of Choco with its epicenter near San Jose del Palmar. Damage was reported in Cali, Pereira, Quibdó, and Manizales, and the quake was felt in parts of Ecuador and Panama. On August 12, President de Espriella gave the toll as 265 dead, 496 missing, and 3,494 injured. Earlier and later reporting gives materially different figures for the missing. And in such situations, unfortunately, missing often means deceased. De la Espriella declared an economic emergency and promised an emergency reconstruction fund, and said the government had mobilized the entire military and police apparatus. Much of Choco is reachable only by boat or plane. On August 11, rescuers had still not reached the epicenter. I guess there was only one road leading there, and it was damaged. The U.S. State Department announced $15.5 million in emergency aid and deployed search and rescue teams. On August 12, 2026, at an anti-cartel conference in Panama City, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Colombia had authorized joint military operations to destroy terrorist and terror networks. So, two completely unattached events, an earthquake and an election result. I want just to remember something to the viewership. It's that a drug syndicate cartel anywhere in the world is a threat to America. They want to sell their product in America because we are the largest market of anything. Car tires, to clothes, to furniture, and drugs. So a cartel in Colombia should be a target for American merciless punishment for what they do to us, selling their drugs here, trafficking them, making more Americans dependent on those drugs. And I'm glad that not FBI, not any, spy agency was there, but the military presented by tweet Hexet. And we will hear about hits, and then we will hear numbers about much lower, ever lower amounts of drugs flowing into America, which all is good news. Yes, they say, but there is a demand. So when there is a demand, there will be supply, right? Wrong. This is why we limit minors from drinking, and they don't have access to alcohol. What they do, they don't drink. As a father, I know it. Anyone knows it. It's really hard in America for a minor to buy a drink, an alcoholic drink. Not completely impossible, but very difficult. Same with drugs. Make it difficult to find them. Many will stop trying. Make them less available, will raise the price. Many will stop just because it's unaffordable. It's just common sense. Yes, some will try to rob a bank, maybe lose their lives, the most dependent. But it is about saving the nation by stopping this deadly business of poisoning the body of American society, the American nation. We cannot just watch how 100,000 every year die, young people who could be productive because they take drugs. Yes, it's a personal choice, but so is alcohol. Yet we do limit some personal choices. Even in Texas, you are not allowed to carry your gun at some places. There are limits. So it is good news for us that this guy went to Colombia and is already planning the first hits. And I think the cartels are taking note, and they will have to hide. They will have to limit communication. They will have to restrict their business before even being hit. But because they will not stop, it's not in their... criminals don't stop. Then you send the military, you send police to restore the order. That is great news for us. Unfortunately, again, it happened in the same days when that earthquake occurred, and we are mourning for every of these and each of these casualties. But their president is not wasting time while taking care of the earthquake dead and hurt and the damages. He is making the best for his country to be restored, which is to stop being the world producer of drugs. And with that, I think we covered the most important topics. Now, allow me for a few minutes to talk about the topic, which is the unholy union between socialism and Islam. It is happening. We can see it. I want to just summarize into a sentence. This is a guarantee that you will not have freedom if they are allowed to take power in one city, in one state, in Congress, in Senate. Do not allow this to happen, America. Every fool who believes, I don't know what level of insanity can make you a citizen of a free country, member of a party or supporter that calls itself democratic. You would actively support the two platforms that are against democracy, Islam and communism. So the real issue here is that we have a large amount of people who are insane. They need help. To hear them now, just to give you an example, how these people process reality. A friend is telling me that their daughter they were talking about AI. And the daughter, who moved to California and become very progressive, of course, is telling her parent that they talk about AI. And the daughter says, oh, they drink our water. There will not be water left for us. Hence, data centers bad. And the parent says, that's not true. They take a certain amount of water, not big, and they cycle it forever. It's like a fountain on your front yard. You barely add some water because it evaporates, which water, wow, guess what? That's all the time. And they in no way threaten the water supply of the nearby community. That first. And second, but these people, ever more of them, and including Texas, maybe some Republicans, being so concerned, which means they were manipulated against the Texas government, because the Texas government wants our schools to be better, which happens with tax money. They don't get better by themselves. It's going to be either your money or that data center's money. And data centers are the perfect business. They bring a lot of money. They don't pollute, and they create highly paid jobs. It's the dream for every local government. You want schools, you want roads, you want to lower taxes. When one data center can change these things overnight, it's happening somewhere, and Democrats don't want it to happen, don't want success. They are eternally unhappy. If they wanted to build success, they will do it in California. So back to Islam and communism. It is supported by a mass of people with a very low IQ, with silence in their heads, and every country, every civilization that allowed such people to take over power, to govern, was destroyed. Are we going to do this, dear fellow Americans? Or are we going to be the smartest nation, the last bastion of freedom? I suggest we do that. Thank you for watching, and let's meet next Sunday.